Welcome to another episode of the Knowledge is Power session, where we come here to empower you, to share with you what we're doing to help women over 40. Today, I have a special guest for you, someone who's very close to my heart. I love what she does, and her name is Kelly. Hi, Kelly. Thank you so much for giving us your time, your expertise today. So tell us a bit more about you and what will this webinar be about?
Oh, yeah, so excited to be here, Martha. Thank you for this opportunity. So I'm Kelly Borowski, and I actually just pivoted to another niche, and this is working with midlife women, really Gen Xers out there, our fellow Gen Xers, who are feeling a little stuck in their career and looking for a new direction. So that's what this webinar will be about specifically, and we'll cover the 5L framework and really the three key habits that we can implement today. And these are the three key habits I used to get myself out of that rut or that midlife I snap out of kind of that midlife crisis and career crisis in 2019. So I'm excited to share that with everyone today.
That is amazing. So without further ado, I will give you the space there. I'll be on the back there. So if anyone got any questions, things like that, feel free to put it into the comment and then we'll give you a Q&A session at the end. So Kelly, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Martha. All right. Whoever's joining later in the replay, welcome as well. So today we will cover, today's webinar, let's just start with the title. It's Midlife Career Upgrade, right? We're talking about upgrading our midlife and the career that we have that we might not be so happy, that we might not be so happy about, or that we've fallen out of love with perhaps. And it's really about charting a new direction, finding a greater sense of purpose and freedom again. So today we're going to cover the 5Ls to rock your midlife blues. And really, midlife isn't a ballad, right? It's not like a sad song. It's about rocking it. So even though it seems like the blues right now, some blues are great melodies, right? And I put just this little picture here, like just insert picture here, you could rock it midlife. So just a show of hands later, if you're on the call, or you can type, whoever's listening right now on the live, just type in the chat if this is true for you. Just type a yes if it's true. If you're feeling a little empty or lost and struggling to find meaning and motivation at work or in the work you're doing. And if you're waiting for the weekend to enjoy life instead of enjoying it during the week because you're just so drained, so tired after work, right? To really get to enjoy your life or the hobbies that you really take an interest in. And type a yes if you're regretting not having done more in your life the past 10 or 20 years, or if you don't even know what's flown by in the past 10, 20 years. See, these are things that are pretty common for us in midlife to experience. And type yes if you're feeling stuck or even trapped where you are in your career. And if you're not sure what direction to take it. Again, really common right now in midlife or mid-career. And if you've answered yes to any of these, I want to say congratulations. Because you've witnessed and encountered and experienced one of the following: a midlife crisis, a midlife career reflection perhaps, or an identity crisis, all of which is a golden opportunity in disguise. Now, it may not seem that way, but I'll get to it in the next slide here. And really, if we follow what Winston Churchill says, we never want to let a crisis go to waste, right? A crisis is an opportunity. And so I really would love to hear from you as well here. If this is also true for you, and type a yes if it's true. If you know there's a lot more you're meant to be and do here. And if you want to finally find out what that more is. And type a yes if you want to have more energy and feel more alive again and free, more free, having the time freedom to do what you love in the second half of life, because it is possible, and I'll get into that. And type a yes too if you wish your relationships and work and life could just be easier. Like, why do things have to seem so hard sometimes, right? It doesn't have to be. And this is a reminder today. So also type yes if you know you really deserve to find work and hobbies that really excite you, that energize you, and that you can wake up to it. Type yes if you know you deserve that, because you do. and and I want to say, if you've answered yes to any of those questions, that you're in the right place. And what you'll learn today is how to capitalize on this crisis or reflection, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. It's just a word for this phase of your life. So what you learn today is what a midlife crisis is and what it isn't. And you'll learn the 5L framework to go from unexcited and unmotivated to jumping out of bed into a creative flow, which is what I experienced in 2019, 2020, when I discovered these 3 simple habits that you will learn today and that you can implement immediately to begin finding more mind space. Who wants more mind space, right? There's a lot of clutter right now. And if we can just free that up, we can feel more free and alive again. And we'll get into that today. Hope everyone's excited for that. And I want to note that there is nothing I have that's ready for you to buy today. So there's nothing to buy. But I will have something at some point, but not today. And I do want to share with you that whoever's attending or joining or replaying this later, you will get an opportunity to get a copy of this book. And it's my latest mini workbook. It's called 3 Skills to Smooth Sailing in Midlife. To give you an edge in midlife so that things can be easier again. And just for you for attending today and investing the time in yourself, I'm giving this for free. So what is a midlife crisis? What is it? Let's start with that. So by definition, from the Merriam-Webster dictionary, a midlife crisis is a period of emotional turmoil in middle age, characterized especially by a strong desire for change. A strong desire for change, that's the emphasis here. And if we talk about where this desire for change is coming from, it begins with us asking these questions all of a sudden, because we're faced with either our kids are growing up, moving away, or we're suddenly taking care of our parents, or we're switching careers, or we're wanting to switch careers, right? So it begs these questions. Who am I really? What do I really want in life? Why am I here? What's the meaning of my existence, right? This existential question. And question of where do I want to go in life? And where do I want to take my career? And what's important to me? What do I really stand for? What do I really want to stand for? What cause is there that deserves my attention and my support, right? And so what a midlife crisis really is your personalized wake-up call from the universe saying, rise and shine, sunshine. It's your time to shine. It's time to reflect on how far you've come. Not what you haven't done, but how far. What have you done? What have you done, right? And it's time to decide what's important to you. What are your values really today? Not someone else's values or what someone else told you was important, but what's important to you. And to move forward with purpose and realize your full potential, because there is so much untapped potential you've probably suspected that's still there and that still just needs to be called out by someone or that needs to be recognized. And so a midlife crisis or mid-career reflection, whatever it is, it's your hero's journey. It's a call for you to embark on this hero's journey, and it starts today. So who here is familiar first with the classic A Christmas Carol? I know I'm talking about Christmas, but it's almost Halloween still, or not yet Halloween. But who's familiar with that? Because it doesn't have to be Christmas really for the ghost of Christmas past, present, or future to pay us a visit, does it? It doesn't have to be Christmas. It could be during a midlife crisis or a major turning point in our life. The ghost of midlife Christmas, or Christmas, perhaps we can call it. And if you recall in that story, or if you're not familiar with it, we'll just cover a few of the lessons that Scrooge learned when the ghost of Christmas past visited him and the future from the present. So the ghost of Christmas past helps Scrooge remember the choices he made and reflect on them and remind him that he wasn't always that way or that he can always choose something different. And also to show what he's done or what he hasn't done, right? What he's done with his life and what he hasn't done. And the ghost of Christmas future, or the ghost of yet to come, they call it in the story, that ghost reminds Scrooge of his future fate. It's not set in stone, and that he still has a chance to change things. And I know it sounds a little grave or morbid, but there's still these actions that he can choose, these new actions in the present that can change his future. The habits we make daily basically can change our future, right? And the ghost of Christmas present reminds Scrooge that he and mankind in general will suffer unless the lessons of generosity and tolerance are learned. So key things are being generous and tolerance, so huge. And I'll talk about my own story about intolerance in a bit later. So what a midlife crisis isn't. We've covered what it is, and now let's talk about what it isn't. And there's some top mistakes we make in midlife that trap us in this emotional cycle turmoil, the mental chatter, right? The busy thinking. And some of these mistakes are seeing our life as a glass half empty instead of a glass half full, and lingering in what we haven't accomplished, and just kind of regretting or feeling bad about what we haven't accomplished versus what we have accomplished, what all that we have achieved in the past 30 plus 40 years. And another mistake is beating ourselves up for not knowing where the past 10, 20 years went, or pressuring ourselves to find that purpose and fulfill it. This was a big thing for me. I was like, pressuring myself, trying so hard to find that purpose. And it wasn't until this year when I was like, oh wow, the pressure was off, and it felt so liberating. But I'll get into that too later. And one of the other mistakes is we dig up the past to play this blame game of like, oh, if he hadn't held me back, or complaining about how someone wasn't supportive or things like that. And another mistake we make is mistaking this for the end instead of the beginning of our life, or of us realizing our true potential. And in spite of all these mistakes, this was exactly what I was doing in 2018 when I hit my midlife crisis. And that's where I was like, wow, what have I done the past 10 years? I've enjoyed my life, but I don't know what the heck I did the whole time. And my memory didn't get good till after I realized that. And when I went to a 10-day silent meditation retreat, but that later. So these were some of the thoughts I had that was swirling in my head. It was, there's got to be more than this. I should be way more successful by now. Why can't he just be more supportive? Or if it weren't for him, I'd be way ahead, right? Or something like that. Or why am I still at this job? Why does everything have to be so hard? And maybe you can relate to this. Maybe you can relate to some of this blaming, complaining, self-critical talk and self-doubt. But what was really going on at the time, right? Well, I didn't understand what was really going on until I went to that 10-day silent meditation retreat, where it was just me and my thoughts trapped, right? It was silent. I had no one to talk to, nothing, no entertainment, no distractions, just me and my thoughts. And that's when I realized, wow, I have been trapped in my own thinking, in my own mind. And I was looking for that escape, right? And I even moved out that year for a bit to take care of my dad and just to get away from things. I wanted some sense of control at that time. And I began, for the first time in my life, to stress eat. It was self-sabotage, basically. And that's how I found that out. And so here are some other signs, though. It wasn't just that. Like, I had this deep sadness and regret. These are other signs of midlife crisis. I had deep sense of regret for like, oh my gosh, why didn't I visit my dad more, before he got dementia? And I was restless. I I just wanted to get busy, trying to accomplish things. I'm like, okay, I'm halfway through. Oh no, I better make something of my life now. And I was irritable. Another sign of midlife crisis is changing motivation, impulsive behavior, a search for more meaning, that purpose I was talking about, searching for that. Yep, I checked all these boxes, and I don't know if anyone else here or listening in can relate, but now that we can acknowledge and admit that this is where we are. Houston, we have a crisis or a problem or both or reflection, whatever. Now what do we do now that we can admit that that's what's happening? Because the first step in anything is admitting, right? And then we can find a solution because we know we deserve a solution. So there are two options when we have this problem. Option one, we can scream for dear life. We can scream, panic, WTF, what is going on? Get me off this thing, this roller coaster. I didn't sign up for this, right? Make it stop. I didn't sign up for these responsibilities or this agony. And the option two is we can scream, but instead of screaming for dear life, we're screaming because we feel alive. Like it's a wake up call. Like, wow, oh my God, where has our life gone? And what can we do now? Where do we want to take it? So in this scenario, we're rolling with the punches. We're admitting that oh wow, we're on a roller coaster. Oh well, if we're gonna be riding it, we might as well enjoy ourselves, right? And this is about just looking forward, like what's on the horizon for us? What's on the other side? The second half of life. So which option would you go with? Just take a moment, think about that. Which option? You go with both, right? So at this point, you might be wondering, who is talking to you? Who is this Kelly Borowski? Well, let's start with 26 years ago. I'll take you back in time traveling back to when I was 17 in 1998. And believe it or not, I was not going to a funeral when I dressed like this. It was actually a photo shoot for our yearbook. I was part of the yearbook team, and I was dressed in black a lot back then because I wanted to hide. I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want people to really know what I was thinking or anything about me because I was depressed. I was a depressed, shy, quiet, but not really quiet. I was quiet by choice. People thought I was quiet, but I had a lot to say. I just didn't say, I wasn't saying it. So I was this quiet, depressed. I had low self-image because my parents were divorced. I was just really upset about that. And these were the thoughts going through my head. Oh, they'll get back together someday. Nope. And some of the thoughts was, I can't trust anyone. There's this part of me that was like, I can't let anyone through. There's this barrier. And I would think things like, I'm such a loner. Why am I so different why is everyone so different from me? And everyone's prettier than me, but at least I'm smarter. And I would think things like, I just want to be left alone. And I self-image problems. I didn't like my smile, so I would not smile in any of those pictures ever since I say age 15, 16, when I saw my mom again. I'd stop smiling. And I would have these thoughts. I think I'm manic depressive. And who I am today. Let's take you to forward that. Fast forward to today. I am today listening to my heart's intuition. I'm trusting myself. Completely different. I am committed to my vision. My thoughts aren't about the past anymore or about what could be about my parents, right? And today I know my worth. And I am determined to teach what I know. So it's just more focused for the future. So how did I get here from depressed and low self-image to jolly and free? Well, if you recall the midlife crisis in 2018, who had the key to break out of that mental prison? Who had the key? I did. I had the key. And I'll show you some of the keys I found. Because what I decided to do in 2018 was immerse myself in self-discovery. Because self-discovery is something that's underrated. And when we talk about personal growth, I feel like that's really the number one step, is to know who we are. And so these are some of the keys I discovered and so much more. And today we'll go over some of the stuff I learned from some of these. Now I want to share with you that the transformation I got from applying these keys. I found strength. I found my strengths, my hidden strengths that I didn't know about, my unique self-expression, my voice. And some of the people that are on live today, they'll probably notice a difference, a change in me, because I've heard this time and time again, people saying like, oh, wow, Kelly, you used to be so private. Why are you like sharing so much now? I'm like, because I have nothing to hide. Why wouldn't I share? So this is the transformation I got. Was I found more direction after finding myself, knowing my values. I knew where I wanted to go. And my passions, my purpose, I revealed them through the self-discovery. And today, these are my thoughts. Like, I know my strengths. I found my passions. I feel deeply fulfilled and free And every day I wake up and so excited to be writing and doing something creative. I know my worth finally this year. This was the year after some shadow work. I finally found that. And I know which direction to go next. And I'm realizing my potential just by letting myself be me. See, it's free. I'm just out of the cage here. So beautiful. Now, type a yes if you wish to have more of this in your life as well. Direction, passion, purpose, potential, freedom, deep fulfillment. Gen Xers, we're very independent people, and we are actually meant to really thrive in the second half of life. And if we just let ourselves be ourselves. So, what does freedom mean to you? I'd love you to type in the chat what freedom means to you. I'm sorry, I can't see the chat right now. I hope there's some good answers coming through. Now, the definition of freedom, though, from the dictionary is the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants, without hindrance or restraint. So without anything stopping us, right? That's freedom, where we can just simply act freely, speak freely, think freely as we want to, as we choose to. Isn't that beautiful? Like, yes, that's freedom to me too. My freedom, I'll show you. Actually, let me just do this. I'll share with you my definition of freedom in a second here. But I want you to interact here a little bit and share, like, if you've ever felt like you've had to hold back on what you want to say to somebody, like you want to say something, but you're afraid to offend them, or you feel like you have to please someone in some way by saying certain things, or to maintain the peace. Yep, I've been there. Like, so many years, I was trying to maintain the peace and not respecting what my needs were. And this was the year I was just like, wow, I realized I was people pleasing. I didn't even know I was a closet people pleaser. And type a yes in the chat too if you felt like you had to hide in some way, of hide like what you really thought, or how you really felt about something, because again you wanted to maintain the peace, or you felt like there wasn't a door open for you to really share what you thought or how you really felt, thinking that, oh, people wouldn't get you, they wouldn't understand you, or they'd run away. Right? That's really common. And type yes if you feel like sometimes you just can't be yourself around even people people you think should know you, like your family members. Sometimes you just can't be yourself because they have this notion of like, oh, you're someone, and they have this impression of you, and they just can't shake that impression. That's really common too. And I want to share with you a my definition of freedom from my experience this year. Since May, I discovered a true sense of freedom when I realized these three things: that I have nothing to prove to anybody, and I have nothing to hide, and I have nothing to lose. I'm just here. Nothing. And I have one more thing to add for the other fellow people pleasers out there. Another fact I realized is I owe no one nothing. I owe nothing to no one. Forget the grammar here for a second and just let this sink in. We don't owe anyone anything, right? No one. What we owe is just to ourselves, to be ourselves, to set ourselves free, let ourselves be. And today I feel more free than ever. And how did I get here? Well, I am no longer weighed down by other people's expectations of me, or by the pressure I've placed on myself to find that purpose, or with social norms. I don't get phased by those things anymore. And it's just, yeah. And what I discovered was like I will share with you the 5L framework today. But that really set things in motion of like, wow, I don't need to lock myself in that mental prison anymore, and I'm free. So I'd love for you to see, like, let that sink into your body too, how true these things are, these facts, these true facts are. And it might help to just like place one hand over your heart. And so often we are in our head, and when we place our hand on our heart, it just reminds us that we are in this physical body, this precious vessel, that we are not meant to be in our head so much, but in our hearts. And if you sit with this for a moment, like putting your hand over your heart, you will probably notice how much easier you're breathing and how much freer you're feeling just by coming back to your heart. And as you're really noticing your breath again and connecting with your heart, notice the truth of these statements. I have nothing to prove. We have nothing to prove. We have nothing to prove. We have nothing to hide. We have nothing to lose, right? And we owe no one anything. We don't owe anyone anything. And just feel how much freer you are when you let these things, these facts sink in and let these things go, those expectations that others have placed on us for so long and that we've placed on ourselves too, like go, go, go and like complete things and finish our to-do lists. And I want to share with you this, the 3 phases of self-actualization. Self-actualization being like being all that we can be, right? In the army, but not in the army. You know, that old phrase. So being like reaching that potential that we know we're capable of, right? And this first phase, like, and it's like you can ignore the years here for a bit. They're rough estimates, right? Because I hit my midlife at 37 when I started taking care of my dad. That was the turning point for me. And it could vary for different people. Some people get it in their 20s. They have that midlife, or they call it quarter life crisis. And that's totally normal. It's all of it is a call to start our hero's journey. And the first phase is about losing ourselves, right? We're exploring, we're learning, we're experimenting, and we lose ourselves. And then the second phase of this, it's self-discovery. We're finding ourselves again and we're meeting our potential. We're learning what that is, we're uncovering it. And the third phase is we're freeing this potential. We're setting it free, we're letting ourselves be, and we are applying, we're just allowing this potential to flourish out in the world. So be you, be free. That's what I like to say. That's my model. Now, what you'll learn today is, now that we've covered all that background, what you'll learn today is the 5 L's to set yourself free again from yesterday's baggage, from tomorrow's worries, from just all that mental baggage, right? That's what you'll learn today. And you'll begin unlocking that potential through these 3 habits that we're gonna cover. Unlocking your potential, and you're gonna find that unique voice you have, that special magnetic voice that you have locked inside of you. Like a lot of us, it's so surprising to me when I hear people say, "Oh, I'm an introvert," and they're like so outgoing, and that's because what they're seeing is they're seeing a filter. Like it's not that like they're always introverted, right? Or they're not always extroverted, and we kind of box ourselves in when we label ourselves this way. But and then there's some introverts who, like, I know there's, because I've spoken to them one on one, and there's so much still inside of them. Like that voice is still like it's buried deep inside them, and I love it when I hear them like get passionate about something. So to the 5 L's you'll learn today, that'll also help you unlock your voice and find more freedom to be you and to do more of what you love. And you'll come away with those 3 key habits that you can start implementing today to find more peace and feel more alive again whenever you wake up. And even when it seems like some days are cloudy, you'll find that these habits will just make everything sunny in spite of what the weather is outside. Sounds a little hippy dippy, right? But it's true. It's true, and you'll learn that when you exercise, when you put these into practice. So, who here wants to learn what these 5 L's are today, so you can start rocking your midlife and feel alive and free again? Who here wants to learn that? Okay, well, we're gonna jump into the first L of the 5, and with each of these L's, I want to back them up with a problem first. I'm gonna lead into them with a problem, the problem statement. And for lever number 1, is the problem today is we're carrying around, because we've lived to this age now, We were carrying around 35 odd years of baggage. And oh, excuse the typo here, baggage. And it's dirty laundry we're carrying, right? We're carrying dirty laundry from years of memories of old arguments, of old impressions we've had of others, or old resentments, old yeah, things that and some of this laundry it's not even ours, right? It's baggage. It's what someone has said we should do, what someone says that that we couldn't do, right? There's certain I've heard of stories from my friends, like teachers have said to them, oh, you can't be that, or their parents have said to them, you can't be that profession, you can't go into that, you won't make it in that, this is baggage, this is old beliefs, old thoughts people have fed to us. And not to be a victim or anything, but it's establishing awareness and a separation of what are our beliefs versus what someone else told us, right? This is the time we make that differentiation. A great call to do that. And this part of this baggage is fears of not being liked by people and caring what people think and fearing that we make a mistake, getting things wrong the first time. I've had all of these. And this is the perfectionism, right? I was a closet perfectionist as well, not just a closet people pleaser. I learned all this through shadow work this year. And drama, like people's drama, we can let all this go. And we'll talk about why in a second. But what happens if we don't let this go? We continue to carry this baggage around. Well, it's literal baggage, like it literally weighs us down mentally and physically. Like we get caught up in it. And our nervous system is not happy with this. We're not happy with this. And all this baggage could also manifest as headaches, right? Headaches it's a sign of intolerance. Body aches, allergies, it's a sign of intolerance or indigestion, not being able to process this through and out of our system. And it can manifest as weight gain as well. A lot of things. And so what's the solution to this? How do we really let all this go and feel lighter, healthier, and more energized again? How do we let go to lighten the load? Well, this is the first key habit we have to share today. It is called the morning brain dump. And before you knock it, thinking like, oh, journaling? What? Really? Before you knock it, I want you to think of it as an equivalent to a dump for the mind, right? It's a mind dump, a brain dump. And which is so necessary because we're carrying all these thoughts around day after day. 90,000 of our thoughts are the same, or sorry, 90% of our thoughts are the same every day. There is a study on that. I don't know how they figured that out, but it is. And so before you write this off, pun intended here, before you write off this habit or knock this habit down as something like thinking, oh, really something so simple could really make such a big change in my life and help me feel lighter? Well, yes. And I want to cover a few facts from a 2018 study about the daily brain dump or daily journaling. And what came out of that study was 88% of people said it improves their focus. 77% said it helped them with self-discovery, with finding themselves, with understanding their values, their beliefs, and their feelings about their life. And 74% said that it allowed them an outlet for emotional venting. You see, we need an outlet for these thoughts. This depression comes from I call it a lack of self-expression or suppression of our self-expression. That's what depression is, where we don't have an outlet for our thoughts or feelings. And so we keep it bottled up until we explode, right? And this offers an outlet for our venting. And 65% of people said journaling improves their ability to manage stress. Huge. 77% says it helps them set goals and achieve them, right? Who doesn't want to achieve more goals and make things easier, right? And 59% says improved their memory. So, and the science really agrees with this. So if you're someone who thinks I have a bad memory, this can help you with that as well. And it's really about being present again. Like journaling helps us come back to the present instead of getting lost in those thoughts about the past or the thoughts about the future, right? The worries about the future. It's about being present, and that's where our memory can be locked in. So I have a story to share with you about my journaling practice. So what happened for me when I started journaling? 3 days in a row at first, and then 3 weeks in a row, and then 12 weeks in a row. And this was from the artist way practice, the morning pages. And I have a little illustration here, which I drew after doing that. It occurred to me that I was having the same old thoughts day in and day out. And when I wrote those old thoughts down, it created mind space for these new thoughts, these new ideas to form in my mind. And then I started using my mind the way it was designed, which was to imagine new possibilities and create new ideas, innovation, right? Not to be trapped in yesterday's regrets about the past or the worries about the future. So not only did it help me with being more innovative, more creative, but calmer. After releasing those thoughts, I was able to be calmer and a more like I had that mind space, the mental capacity to really listen to people as well. And so I handled work conflict better as well. I remember a time when I had this argument with a coworker. It was a heated argument, and I was like, I was burning up, like I was just red in the face. And I went home though, and I journaled about it. And what came out of that was because I went in with the intention of how can I resolve this conflict? How can we work better? And I started writing all of a sudden about like what was good about him, like what I appreciated and admired about him, and then also what we could do to work better together. And it just the next day when we met again, it was just peaceful. It was fine, and I just like the resentment had just dissipated. That's what journaling does for like in the moment situations. And it also allowed me to get into the flow state more. And I have to tell you, flow states is your key to saving time and energy. What I've noticed is if I'm trying so hard to get something done, I actually end up spending more time on it. Versus if I am in the right mind space, the right headspace, and relaxed in the body. When I say relaxed, I mean like not trying so hard, not tense, then I can get into this flow state very easily and get so much done so quickly. And I'll give you an example. Well, actually, I'll get into that later about the book I just finished. So, who's convinced now that journaling is beneficial to your mental health? I hope you said yes. And and type right. Actually, type right if you can commit to starting this key habit tomorrow morning, because there's no point in talking about all this if you're not even going to do it, right? So type a yes or right if you can commit to that for yourself for tomorrow, starting tomorrow. All right, let's jump into lever number 2. And again, we'll lead into this with a problem. And lever number 2, the problem behind this is we're just too close to the problem that we're trying to solve. So whether it's a midlife crisis, identity crisis, something going on at work, something we're not happy about. Like for me, my tunnel vision. So when we're too close to a problem, all we see is these two top problems, and that creates this tunnel vision where we can't see anything else. Whatever someone's presenting in front of us, we're so distracted with these two problems that we can't focus on anything else. That's tunnel vision, right? And tunnel vision, it's about a tendency to focus on one problem or one or two problems or one point of view, like a narrow focus, right? And the bigger the perceived threat of this problem, the bigger the perceived size of the problem, the more attention we tend to focus on it. And some symptoms of tunnel vision is we're unaware of what we're not hearing. Like we're selectively hearing things because all we're focused on or all that's on our head and on our mind is the two top problems. And we're irritated by anyone or anything that interrupts us, right? We're so laser focused on this problem. And we have this rigid and unwillingness to accept suggestions, or we're thinking we'll have to figure out ourselves, right? And for me, like, my tunnel vision moment or phase was that time in 2018, that midlife crisis, when I was up for that work promotion and I didn't get it. I think it's 3 years into it, into my last promotion. Didn't get it. I was thinking, gosh, I'm doing all the right things. And my boss said, oh, if you do this, then you'll get it. I said, okay, I'm doing all the right things. Why am I not getting this promotion? I was frustrated and annoyed, kind of. And the second problem I was dealing with at the time was taking care of my dad, like having that full-time job. And thank goodness I had some people helping me at the time through this city government program. Thank goodness for that. I'm so grateful. I really learned to be grateful that year. And so the way I got out of this tunnel vision was I looked up. So L number 2 is looking up. What I mean by this is creating a distance between ourselves and those problems that we are so focused on, giving us a break from thinking about it. And really, it's oh, this actually. So this brings us to key habit number 2, which is walking. Specifically, walking outside, not on a treadmill, walking outside, where we have the opportunity to look up at the sky. And there's actually a study, or a area of study, on the benefits of looking up at the sky, and it's called skycology. No, it's, yeah, so skycology. I don't know if anyone's heard that, but there's a 2019 study that shows us the benefits. And some of the benefits are it helps us to connect to a sense of calm immediately. Like even right now, like if you can look out at the sky, just instantly there's so much space. It's the spaciousness of it that gives us this sense of calm. And it also gives us a sense of connectedness again. Because when we're trapped in just this tunnel vision, all we see is our problems. Like we're alone on an island and there's no one else around. It's just us and our problem. Versus when we're looking up at the sky, we're like, oh, all this vast space and all these people in this world, we are connected, right? And this, it also brings us a greater sense of perspective and humility, instead of this egoic, like, I have to figure everything out myself. This is my problem and only I can fix it. Or, that humility would allow us then to go and seek help if we needed to, seek support, or just an ear to listen to our problems or bounce ideas off of. And it gives us a sense of clarity and perspective. So I'd like to just pause here because I've been talking a lot. Pause here, let you absorb and integrate, whether you're listening on the replay or not, too. Just type in the comments, like, what your biggest ahas are so far. What your biggest ahas are. And questions, too. If you have any questions, or what I've always wanted to do is start a Dear Kelly column. I don't know if you've heard of Dear Abby, but I've always wanted to start a Dear Kelly column. And actually, a friend in college had proposed, like, we start a column like that. I don't know why it never took off, or we never did it. But if you have a problem, because I've learned this year, after jumping from so many niches, from one niche to another, what I realized why I was doing that was I am a serial problem solver. I solve problems, I solve my problems, I want to teach the solution, and I move on. And that solution's out there for whoever needs it. And so if you have a problem, or some kind of a Dear Abby problem, I'd love for you to shoot me an email, maybe even at dearkelly@yogishorts.com or kelly@yogishorts.com, either one. And I will answer your question there. All right, let's jump into the third L. So L number 3, the problem that leads into this lever, the solution, is can we all agree there's a freaking ton of noise out there? on the news, on social media, on TV. Like we're here maybe we're trying to quit some habit like smoking, and then you see someone smoking, or we're trying to quit drinking, and then we see someone drinking on some television show or some movie, and then we're like, oh, that looks good, that sounds good, or whatever. Or Taco Bell goes on, and we're trying to quit junk food, right? These things are just, it's too much stimulation out there, so much noise. So how, with all this noise around us, how can we hear the voice inside of us? That quiet voice of reason, that quiet voice of intuition, that nudge, that gut feeling in our body that's telling us what's right for us, or what we should do, what direction to take our career. How can we listen or hear that when there's so much noise, when we're enveloped, immersed in so much noise out there? So that brings us to lever number 3, listen in. So the solution is to eavesdrop on our thoughts. And this could be even going on that walk we were talking about, or it could be that journaling we were talking about. Because when we write down our thoughts, we get to eavesdrop on what's going on behind the scenes. And we get to hear what we're really thinking, how we're really feeling, what we really want to do with our lives, what's really important to us. And we get to hear the soft voice of intuition saying, what's the right decision for us that respects our energy? Instead of thinking, oh, we feel obligated to do something, to say yes to this or that thing. And this quiet voice of intuition, because it respects our energy and what we have energy for, it sets the right boundaries for us. So you're probably thinking, well, this is great, Kelly. So easy to do, but I mean, easy to say. How do you do it? How do you do it? Well, if you don't even start right with either the journaling or the walking or other practices that I'll be sharing in that course, if you, excuse me, don't usually talk this much, like in a row anyway, for this long. So it's, if we don't even do any of those habits, right, those key habits we've just covered, we've just learned, and any new practices, then of course we won't know whether it's easy or hard, because you don't know till you start, right? And now some of us might think like, okay, journaling, yeah, I've tried that. And it's kind of hard because there's just so much to write down and write out. And really, it's kind of like when someone says, oh, I don't do yoga because I'm not flexible enough. Or I don't meditate because there's just too much noise. And this is really I mean, the reason we do yoga is to get flexible. The reason we meditate is to quiet the noise or to slow down the noise. And that's the whole thing here with writing as well. We need to write to free up those thoughts. Otherwise, there is going to be a ton piled up. And we're talking about like 30 plus years, right, of thoughts and beliefs that probably aren't ours. And that's what happened to me. I offloaded those in those 12 weeks. Like, whoa, right? But it didn't take that long. It didn't take long to get them all out. I guess I didn't have too much to resolve, but I ended up writing like just really spectacular spiritual like fodder, spiritual like really insights as well. Like in all that, it's just gems and gold if I were to look back at it. So that's the solution there. If you can just start doing that, it's so liberating. You won't regret it, and you'll thank me for sure. So let's jump into lever 4 here. And the problem that leads into lever 4 is that we think we need a reason to love ourselves. We think we need a reason to be proud of ourselves. We think we need a reason for everything. We're like, why should I feel like, why should I feel good about myself? Or why why is it hard for me to be proud of myself, right? Or things like that. We're just always looking for a reason to feel worthy or feel lovable. Like we need a reason when we don't need a reason. And we're seeking that proof of like of that worthiness. Like for me, like seeking that proof, like, okay, you have to find that purpose in order to love yourself, in order to be worthy, Kelly, or to make your life meaningful, or to have meaning to your life. No, no, no. Like I finally discovered this year. with that shadow work. So we're looking for these reasons to feel loved and to feel like we love ourselves. But and we'll get into how. So what does this? What happens? Excuse me. What happens when we continue this the search for the reasons and the proof for why we're worthy and valid and deserve recognition? So what happens is we set these high expectations for ourselves, and we beat ourselves up if we don't meet them, and we look to others for that approval, like, oh, is this the right decision for us, or is this, or are we doing the right thing, or was that good? We look at them for validation and recognition for whether we did it right, and we look to them for understanding. When we can look, like, with that journaling and with other practices, we can actually give ourselves all these things, and we can adjust then what we want to do or say to ourselves. So how do we begin to really love ourselves unconditionally, like to approve of ourselves unconditionally, to feel complete without anything else? And how can we be more understanding even when we make mistakes, when we say something wrong or do something wrong, that didn't meet our expectations, or when we cave into these bad habits we're trying to quit because of something we saw on that TV, or when we get upset and say these hurtful things to someone and regret it. And so, yeah, how do we get to that point where we're more understanding and we have this unconditional, unwavering love for ourselves? Well, it's that takes us to lever number 4. The fourth L is love without reason. We don't need a reason to love anybody, anything, ourselves. We don't need a reason. How do we get to this point of loving all of ourselves, no matter what, unconditionally? Well, the solution is self-discovery. Self-discovery, knowing thyself, to know how complete we are. Because for me, I didn't really know how complete I was till I knew all parts of me. And the foundation, the really secret to knowing ourselves, is to practice honesty, being honest, fully, completely, 100% honest and transparent with ourselves. Being honest about our hidden triggers, or those thoughts that we have, instead of fighting any of this, instead of fighting who we are, being honest with who we are. Who's thinking those thoughts? Why are we thinking those thoughts? And the beliefs we have, the desires and needs. So how do we get to this point of understanding all this? Well, it's shadow work with the gene keys. And I'll definitely be going more in depth with this process in my course. I've actually done workshops on this just to prove how valuable this whole process is. It's been incredible. I want to share with you some of the results of shadow work with gene keys. I didn't put some of the quotes here, but these are some of the benefits and the results you can gain from shadow work. So shadow work allows us to reduce internal conflict. So we're not fighting ourselves anymore. So we can arrive at a sense of peace within ourselves and not seek outside validation or anything to have that peace or seek to maintain that peace. If we're peaceful inside, we don't need to try to maintain the peace with people. And we can learn to set healthy boundaries with this. So no more people pleasing. And because we know our worth, we know what we're made of. There's no need to people please anymore. We're not afraid of conflict. We get to this point of like entire peace. And we arrive at this deeper understanding of how we operate, and increased level of confidence, self-esteem, self-trust, and creativity. Wait, there's more. That's not it. That's shadow work can also help us become less judging of ourselves and others. We arrive at a greater sense of self-acceptance and increased self-awareness, better emotional health, which also then improves our relationships. So let's talk about what can happen if we continue to ignore these hidden beliefs and we continue to fight ourselves on these fears that we have and saying like, oh, we're not afraid, or oh, we don't really want that. Like we're denying these things that we feel and we think about. And what happens is we end up having lower self-esteem because we're not allowing ourselves to express ourselves. We develop this jealousy, thinking we're alone, and this guilt and resentment, strained relationships. a slew of things, right? All of this can lead to a decrease in our happiness, our fulfillment in life, confidence, our sense of freedom. And we want freedom. We don't want that to go down. So I have a story to share about my May this year. Talked a little bit about this earlier. So May this year, I remember I was talking about this need for purpose, to find that purpose. And I was jumping around thinking, oh, this is it. This is it. I found it. But it wasn't, because it was short lived. I didn't really want to be doing that forever. It didn't really light me up for that long. And what ended up happening was I was like relying on or depending on finding this purpose in order to feel worthy about myself. I was feeling empty and lost and confused and disappointed in where I was and of not finding it. And so I started to, or continued really, to start eating like mindlessly, like that stress eating, like an emptiness eating, a boredom eating, like, oh, I got to find this purpose. But since I didn't find it, I was distracting myself with stress eating, self sabotage. And when I discovered the gene keys and shadow work with it, it opens up a whole new door to, and for me, it was the gift of gene key 28. And don't worry about throwing jargon at you, the gene keys, but that's what I will be covering later as well in a course or another workshop. So with this gene key 28, the gift is called totality, meaning really embracing like every moment of life. I'm feeling fulfilled in exercising my strengths, my writing, my self-expression, and the art I do, that fulfills me, and sharing that with the world, taking in life as it comes, and just with each experience, like taking it all in totality. And in that way, I kind of connect it with this purpose of like teaching what I know, of embracing like, wow, I have all this knowledge. I can put it into a package. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But it allowed me to connect back with a sense of joy again and feel passion driven and vision focused and free again from the pressure I was placing on myself to find this purpose. And I want to share with you the difference here, actually. So with the previous mindset of like seeking that validation to find that purpose and worthiness, that's from a scarcity, a not enoughness point of view, versus now feeling like abundantly aware that I am complete as I am. I've always been enough. And this is the transformation you can get from the shadow work as well. So who wants to learn the shadow work process to grow your confidence and feel more free, complete, to rock your midlife? I hope everyone's saying yes here on the replay too. And I want to announce a unique opportunity to do that, to learn, do, and love all of you again. And I'll share this sneak preview of the transformation you can experience as well. So going from regretting the past conversations or what didn't happen, what did or didn't happen, and resenting, going from frustration to a more level head, excited about the future, and more free. Again, more on that later. Now I want to jump into the last lever here, the fifth L. And I know we have allotted the time of 90 minutes here, so I will be done in probably the next 15 minutes or so, just to give you a heads up. So the problem that leads us into the solution of the fifth L is, because of our go, go, go hustle culture, we are giving our best hours in the morning to work, or to our phone when we pick it up, or to our emails, or to a coffee pot if we start that in the morning. We're giving these best hours because when we're waking up, we are in the prime mode to perform. Believe it or not, unless you are not sleeping well. And sleeping really is the number one priority behind anything, behind our mood, behind the day going well. And I actually have a talk on that too. But suffice it to say, and just assume that there are studies definitely on sleep being that number one lever, I would say, actually, the leverage point of you having a great day. So if you're not getting enough sleep, that might be why you're not jumping into that peak state already. So when you think about the first thing that you wake up with, like, what's that first thought you have? What's that first thing you want to do? If you're not automatically pulled to do something, then there's something else out there that you're meant to do. And the actually the solution, I jump into that. So what's happening here with this problem is we're giving away that peak time, that time of peak performance where we could get so much done, and where we're in this mental state where it's easy actually for us to connect with our intuition. It's this quiet space. There's less mental noise when we wake up. And it's also a great time for that soul care, their self-care, right? We're taking care of what excites, what lights us up. And if we don't do these things, we're giving away that sense of freedom. So, so let me share with you actually a story, quick story here. In 2020, I was also just used to going to work and jumping right into my email. And during the pandemic that year of 2020, I had the opportunity to jump into creative flow instead of driving straight into work. That commute was cut. I didn't have to commute. So I woke up, did my creative thing. I was doing art on Procreate. I learned Procreate, and I was suddenly writing articles for the first time on medium.com. And the rest is history. Now I love writing articles. And when I did that, guess what happened? The universe offered me more opportunities to do that. And next thing I knew, like every morning I would be having this flow where it would flow into my day, my work day, get that job done, knowing that I could come back to my art or my writing, that passion. Because I found that thing that really lights me up, which brings us to the fifth L, the fifth lever for rocking our life. And that fifth L is lighting your soul on fire. Finding that thing that lights you up. And we will get into that too in the course that I'll be creating and that you'll be helping design if you so choose. So it's about lighting us up, right? Finding that thing that gives you that energizes you, that feeds that passion, that energy that you have, that potential that you have locked up. And I call this the joy sandwich. It's my signature sandwich method, I call it. So key habit number 3 is when you find something that you're either dreading to do or you're feeling pressure to finish, you can sandwich joy in between those things. Or if you're feeling, for example, you don't like your job anymore, or it's just not exciting to you, you know there's something else there, then you find that thing that you enjoy doing that lights you up. You do that first thing in the morning, and you do it again, or something else you enjoy. You line that up, you schedule that for after work or even in between tasks. And you'll find so much more energy when you do this. Because when you're actually starting with a surplus of energy when you do this in the morning. Instead of a deficit, thinking like, oh, I have to jump right into my email, you're starting then at a deficit of energy. And what we want is to have to drag that amount of energy for as long as possible. So you can fill that up and have the energy to do the stuff you enjoy in the morning and in the evening. It's something to look forward to. It's like when you're working so much, if you don't have a vacation plan somewhere, that can really drag you down. So that's another tip. Find that vacation. It could be a staycation or whatever, something toward the end of the week to look forward to. And this could be learning something new. It could be writing, could be reading a book, reading something that's either educational or just that's entertaining. That we're practicing some skill that you've been wanting to really get good at. Or even chatting with a friend, like something that lights you up could be like phoning friend after work. Like how, like I think it's so underrated nowadays, phone calls with a friend. It's just so rich, so enriching to have that. And quality time with family, obviously. Who doesn't want more of that? Now, type sandwich if you feel you can give yourself 15 to 30 minutes a day to exercise this the sandwich method, where you're sandwiching joy in between your work or outside of your work, like bookending, I should call it. That's another way to look at it. Yeah, and you're doing it for you, right? You're doing it to light you up, to have give you more energy to last you through the day instead of feeling drained from work and after work. So you're enjoying your days instead of waiting for the weekend to enjoy life. All right, so let's do the recap here. We have covered the 5 L's to rock your life. Type the first L if you recall what that is. Quiz, pop quiz. And the first L, it's letting go. Yep. If you were able to recall that, good for you. Good on you. And so the first L is about letting go, right? That was the first habit of the morning brain dump, where we're letting 30 plus years of baggage go so we can feel lighter and freer again every day. The more we do this, the more we're dumping, the more free we're feeling. And second L is to look up, right? Separating ourselves from those two big problems and not feeling like that's the only focus, right? Because work sometimes, if we're only thinking like, oh, that's our only focus, then we're forgetting all the other good stuff that we can enjoy outside work. Tunnel vision, so doing that walk will allow us to separate ourselves from that drama. And lever number 3 was to listen in. So removing ourselves from the noise for a second and listening in to what our gut wants, what our intuition is saying is the right next thing to work on or do. Instead of looking at our to-do list, we're listening in, because a to-do list is also really big noise. And if we're always just looking tunnel vision on the to-do list, we're missing life. Life is passing us by without us knowing it. And listening in can allow us to notice where our energy wants to go, what activity we want to put our energy into, and what's important to us, right? And the fourth L is that loving, like loving anything, everything, appreciating things without reason, without needing a reason, without needing a reason, just coming back to that sense of worthiness, the sense of completeness that we have in us. Like there's nothing we need to fight in ourselves, about who we are, and just be able to sit with like whatever's going on and accepting those thoughts as they come in. And again, the writing will help so much with that. And lighting and the shadow work, obviously, but yeah, we don't have time to get into all of that, the process for all of this. And the fifth L is to light your soul on fire. So to rock your life, you got to light your soul on fire with something you love, right? And it's really about finding that thing and doing more of it. That's what's going to give you more energy throughout the day. And it's going to bump up your sense of freedom, like freedom to do what you love, not just be tied down in tunnel vision about that job that you don't like. And it's going to increase your satisfaction overall. So I promise you, if you do any one of these 3 habits for 7 days, you experience this increase in energy, sense of freedom, satisfaction in your day, every day. All right. So please type in the chat box. I'd love to read the comments later. What was your biggest takeaways or any ahas you had today? I'd love to hear what big ahas you had. And at this point, you're probably wondering what's next then. You've learned quite a bit today. And I also know that it's probably not enough for me to confirm your suspicion that you have a ton of untapped potential locked inside you that wants to be used, even if it's not in your current career. It could be in your current career. There's probably opportunities for that. There is a purpose in everything we do. and we can find that. And yeah, I know you already know you have that untapped potential, and you're probably just wondering how you can unlock it, right? How can you find your unique strengths? And there's the human design gene key system for that as well, which I will be covering in my course as well. But the good news is for you is you don't have to figure this out by yourself. I know I didn't. I had the help of books, retreats, that silent meditation retreat, the courses, the conferences, and I'm taking all of that I learned to build something super magically transformative for you. I'd love for you to type excited if you're excited to hear more about this magical experience that you can have, or help design, actually, I should say. And I also know that I could tell you these 5 L's and all you need to begin to feel more free. I could teach you all these things. I could teach you these simple habits, which I have, that you learned today, and the low-hanging habits that will get immediate results for you. But if you leave this call and you don't do any of these 3, even for a day, then where does that leave things, right? Where does that leave things? I want to bring this up again here. If you remember this slide of all the keys that helped me unlock that mental prison and find greater freedom, there's so much more outside of this. But if you recall that, well, this is what I plan and intend to do is, and it's why I'm putting together this comprehensive program. And it's really an experience designed specifically for independent, self-motivated Gen Xers, women who are ready to become more self-expressed, who are ready to unlock your hidden potential and find more freedom in midlife, where you're waking up doing what your soul loves to do, and you're no longer compromising your happiness or your personal sense of freedom. Well, if this is you, then I'd love to invite you to come help design and test this new course I'm creating. And I'm looking for 5 contributors at this point in the journey, 5 founding, not fathers, founding mothers, to help design this to make it so fantastic, so magical for future fellow travelers who come along for the ride, screaming to feel alive again. And really, it's about coming together and looking at ways to really rock your midlife, testing it out, designing the modules that go into it. Because what I've learned is I can't just put something together assuming that it'll address the specific needs that you have. So, which is why I'm inviting you to come and help design it based on your needs today. So if you're interested, just send an email to me, kelly@yogishorts.com, with the subject application, and I will send you an application. I don't have any fancy funnels for this. So if there's interest, then I'll create something, the application, at this point, because I do have some more content I'm be putting out there. And at this point, I I want to really confirm your suspicion that you are meant for more. You are meant for more, to be more of you and to do more of what excites you, what energizes you. But to be more of you, you need to let go of what isn't you. So that 35 plus years of baggage, that isn't you, right? That wasn't us. And there's some that is, but we gotta create that space to and take that time to know what is ours, which baggage, which items is ours and which aren't ours, so we can lighten the load. And it's about releasing those distractions, the noise, the old identities, the rigid beliefs, right? It's about letting go. That's what lever number 1 is all about. It's releasing the noise, the old identities and beliefs. And I want to give you a tip here, a hint. Transformation, it's not a game of addition. We don't need to add more stuff to our lives. It's a game of subtraction. Subtraction, we got to remove stuff, remove the noise, remove the distractions. And when we do that, then we can find out who we really are underneath, who's really thinking all these thoughts, whose thoughts are these, and what do we really care about? What do we really value? And here's the transformation pictures. I gave you a preview of this earlier. And this is a before picture and this is a before picture of how our mind is and the body, the state of our body, where our heart's more closed off and our muscles are more stiff and we're more tense and we're on defensive mode. When criticism or suggestions come in, we think they're criticism. When our nervous system is in freeze, flight, our breath is short and shallow, and our head's in the clouds, right? Our mental prison. This is the before. And the transformation you get with those 5 L's in more depth is you get to find trust in yourselves again. You get to really figure out what it is what lights you up, right? What your passion is. And you learn that nothing can take you down when you're in this flow state and in your being, letting yourself be. And what it feels like in the body is your heart's open again to receive life, to receive words through your senses, like words, and not have it be sullied, be polluted by old thoughts, by the old habits. That's what shadow work really helps do. And you're gonna feel lighter in your body and more loose, right? And you'll be more receptive with that open heart. And your parasympathetic nervous system will be engaged and you'll be more calm. Your breath will be smoother and life will be easy peasy again. Your head's clearer and you'll be more intuitive. So that's the transformation in pictures. And this is the transformation in words. You'll be fully self-expressed and self-actualized through this process so that then you can find what it is that you're really meant to do here and really reach into your full potential, like really realize that through your passions, through the act, so through the action of doing what lights you up, you find your potential and you find out who you really are. See, running out of the cage, we are free. We are free. So at this point, um, I'll just ask. Let's just ask one, if this is you, if you know there's so much more you're meant to be and do here, and you're ready to find out what that more is. And if you want to feel confident in your own skin, confident in the direction you want to take your life, and confident in your decisions instead of overthinking things, over planning things, over predicting what might happen if you try to do something. And if you want to know your strengths and the right next career move or business move for you, so you can begin putting those strengths to use and realizing your true potential and finding that unique voice that you have. And if you already know that relationships, work, and life can be easy, and you just want to know how to do that, then I again extend the invitation to you to apply as one of the founding mothers of this course. So you can help design and test it to make this a wonderful experience for you and future travelers. So at this point, I'm going to ask any questions. If you want to type the questions or email me the question to Kelly at Yogi Shorts. And I want to remind you, there is a free gift for you for being here today and investing the time in you. This little mini workbook I put together. It's 3 skills to smooth sailing in midlife. So just send an email to Kelly at Yogi Shorts with the subject line workbook or with subject application, and I will send you the application or the workbook, depending on which one you are interested in. And I want to close out with saying freedom awaits actually each day. Freedom is there for you. It's accessible, just like peace is accessible if you just start with these 3 key habits. So I'll ask you, which of these will you commit to? Just any one of these will go such a long way for you. Okay. And I'll close off with just one little story. A friend of mine was saying, this was like a couple months ago now. He said, I feel like I haven't done much. He's like in his 50s. He said, I feel like I haven't done much with my life. And I said, what I said to him was, because he's very responsible. He takes care of himself. And I said, you've done enough just by being a responsible human and taking responsibility for the choices you make and not causing trouble. Because there's a lot of people who aren't being responsible for their decisions and they're blaming people, complaining. He doesn't do that. And it's just so huge. If you feel like you haven't done much yet or achieved much. Look back at what you have achieved and realize how important it is to just take responsibility and being honest with yourself instead of blaming someone else or or making someone like if just as long as like we are ourselves and we allow ourselves to be ourselves, that's what really matters at the end of the day. And in that way we can allow ourselves or we can allow others to be themselves as well, which is part of what I cover in this mini workbook. So with that being said, I'm just going to close this out, and I'm so grateful that you decided to invest the time in you today and to enrich your midlife and to take it into a new direction, the direction it deserves, the direction you deserve for the second half of your life. And I hope to talk with you again soon, maybe meet face to face someday, and take good care of yourselves. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you for the presentation, Kelly. I think that that was a very insightful session. So I'm sure that our audience and our listener who will be looking at this slider will absolutely love it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Martha. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Sonia.
So thank you again for joining us on Knowledge is Power webinar day. We look forward to seeing you again in the next session. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.